BBC News, hello, I'm Gareth Barlow. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has denounced a Russian missile strike on a shopping centre in the central city of Kremenchuk as one of the most brazen terrorist acts in European history. At least 13 people were killed in the attack, but that figure could rise. Joe Inwood has this report.
Is anybody alive? Anybody alive? A man calls to survivors trapped in the twisted wreckage of the Amstor shopping centre. Pictures from the scene show a building filled with smoke and dust. It was just before 4 p.m. when at least one missile struck the complex in Kremenchuk, the industrial city in central Ukraine, which is home to the country's biggest oil refinery, has been targeted before, but not like this. President Zelensky said around 1,000 people were inside the centre, although that cannot be independently verified. Russia has yet to comment, but always denies targeting civilian infrastructure.
The leaders of the G7 countries who are meeting in Germany have described the missile strike on Kremenchuk as abominable. The UN spokesman Stephanie Dujarric also condemned the attack, calling it deplorable.
Any sort of civilian infrastructure, which includes obviously shopping malls and civilians, should never ever be targeted. We're obviously concerned about the intensifying fighting that we have seen. We're concerned for the civilians who are being put at risk and who are being killed and wounded.
The Jordanian Prime Minister has visited the port of Aqaba, where 12 people were killed by a chlorine gas explosion. 260 others were hurt. Surveillance camera footage of the incident shows a large cylinder being hoisted onto a ship by a crane when it drops and explodes, releasing a rapidly spreading cloud of yellow gas. The Prime Minister, Bashir Kasauna, praised the response of health workers.
I heard from the director of the hospital that admissions, the number of cases, are decreasing. This is thanks to God and your efforts when you received the first batch of people and provided them with necessary care. I assigned the Interior Minister to head a team to hold an investigation into the incident.
The US State Department has confirmed that talks aimed at reviving the stalled 2015 nuclear deal between Iran and world powers will resume in Qatar. Iranian state media say a delegation will fly to Doha on Tuesday. The Ethiopian government says it has set up a 7-member committee to hold peace talks with Tigrayan forces to try to end the 19-month civil war. It will be chaired by the country's Deputy Prime Minister, Demeke Mekonnen, who's also the Foreign Minister. Ethiopia's governing party said it would only agree to the African Union leading the peace process, but Tigrayan forces have criticised the bloc's efforts so far. They want the Kenyan president to mediate. World news from the BBC. A long-distance passenger train in the United States has partially derailed after hitting a truck at a crossing in Missouri. The train operator Amtrak said there were early reports of injuries among the more than 250 passengers and crew on board. Several of the carriages can be seen lying on their side. The government of Peru has declared a 30-day state of emergency on the country's road system in response to a strike by transport workers. They're demanding a reduction in fuel prices. The measures give the police and the armed forces extra powers to remove any roadblocks set up by truck drivers. The Sri Lankan government has suspended all fuel sales except for essential services for 2 weeks as the country's grave economic crisis continues. A government spokesperson said fuel will be made available only to health, public transport and other key sectors. He said all schools in urban areas would close. The government is sending 2 ministers to Moscow to explore the possibility of buying oil from Russia. And scientists say they found the earliest evidence of a wildfire anywhere in the world, deep underground in Wales. The tiny fragments of charcoal are thought to be 430 million years old. Here's Jonathan Amos.
Go back to what's known as the Silurian period, and Earth looked very different from today. What is now the UK would have been south of the equator. A few pioneering plants had begun to evolve, but nothing containing wood. No trees, no shrubs. However, according to this new evidence, there was still plenty of fuel which could have started a wildfire, in the form of giant mushrooms called prototaxites. All that remains of these strange organisms now is fragments of charcoal. Ian Glasspool, a paleobotanist from Colby College in the US, says the 430-million-year-old Welsh charcoal pushes back the earliest known evidence of a wildfire by 10 million years.
And that's the latest BBC News.